Hey, good morning. Happy Labor Day if you are out in the United States. Actually, happy Labor Day wherever you are. I don't know. I think that's just a United States holiday though. I'm not 100% sure, but happy Monday. I hope all of you are doing fantastic today. A lot of you have probably heard this saying before, but I really want to talk a little bit today about the fact that God doesn't call the qualified. God qualifies the called. And I think that a lot of folks are out there today and they feel like their past failures, the drug addiction, being an alcoholic, being abused when they were a kid, just whatever challenges and things and trials and tribulations that they've gone through disqualify them from the life of their dreams, disqualify them from doing the things that are on their heart to do. And I want to talk to you guys today about that because nothing, in my opinion, could be further than the truth. Once again, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. There's story after story after story in the Bible where the hero of the story is one of the most unlikeliest people that you would ever suspect that could be the hero. With David and Goliath. David was one of the smallest, youngest brothers. There was nothing about David. He was a little guy. There was nothing about David that would make you think that he could slay this huge giant. The only thing that really got David through was his immense, incredible belief in God and the faith that he had in God's word. But it happens over and over and over in the Bible where God just He will qualify the willing. He will qualify people that step out in faith and that move in the direction that He wants them to. But folks, it's so important for you to really realize that the things that maybe you're ashamed of, the things that you feel badly about yourself about, those are the things that God will use to touch and change other people's lives. One of my favorite people in this world, Ed Milet, his father was an alcoholic. Tried to quit drinking multiple times while Ed was a child and wasn't able to quit. And finally, when Ed was about 15 years old, he's driving down the street driving down the road in the car with his dad, and his dad lets him know that he's going to try one more time. He's going to try to get sober one more time. And Ed's like, well, what's going to be different this time? And his dad's like, I don't know, but I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go try one more time. But the interesting thing about that story, Ed's dad was on the verge of, possibly taking his own life, just, in a really, really dark, dark, dark place. And he found out years later that it was another gentleman, by the way, whose name happened to be Ed, that actually turned it all around and helped, Big Ed. His dad's name is Ed, so it's Ed Milet. So he's like, a junior. But anyways, it's Ed the big Eddie, we call him, helped Big Eddie make the decision to go become sober one more time. Well, guess what? That Ed that talked to Ed Milet's dad, guess what he was? He was an ex-alcoholic and an drug addict and somebody that had stolen from their family and done all of these horrible things in his life, all of these things that he would have thought and that the devil would like to use against you to disqualify you from being somebody that can help other people and live your dreams. All of those things that he had gone through previous in his life and the fact that he had overcome them was exactly the reason that he was able to help Ed Milet's dad decide to become sober one more time. And I love the ending of this story. His dad did become sober that day or the next day whenever he went into rehab. He did become sober, and he stayed that way for the next 35 years of his life. And guess what he did? He helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people become sober and stay sober through the trial and tribulation of becoming sober himself. So folks, maybe you've been, in a horrible financial position and, done things that you're not happy about, done things that you really, you don't approve of, even in your, your own life. You don't approve of some of the things that you've done when things were tight. Maybe you've shoplifted, from a store because you were hungry, and now you're on top of life. You've got a good job. You're working hard, you're living, and you're doing good. But you think the fact that you used to be a shoplifter, that you used to steal in order to get by, disqualifies you from helping other people. I'm here to tell you that that's not true. There's other people out there that need to hear your story. There's some guy right now that's sitting out in front of a 7-Eleven or a Safeway grocery store thinking about how he's going to go in and rob the place of, $5 or $10 worth of food so that he can eat today. And maybe, just maybe, somehow you talking about your trials and tribulations and how you went from a person that used to steal in order to make a living, and now God got a hold of your heart and things have changed. And now you've got a great job. Maybe you were single and just drifting through life aimlessly back then, but now you've got a good job. You've been blessed with a good spouse in your life, and maybe even have some kids. And your story about how you went from this person that was stealing to get by and to eat, to now you own your own home and you have, cars. And like I say, you've got a family. That story could inspire, who knows, a ton of people. And the thing about all of this, guys, is you don't know the ripple effect that you're having in your life. When the Ed that helped Ed Milet's dad, wherever that was, Ed Milet to this day doesn't know whether his dad went to a bar and, to get drunk and, and to think about and contemplate what he was going to do, how he was going to take his life. Ed doesn't know where his father met this incredible soul, but it was probably in a bar or who knows where. But anyways, the ripple effect of that man taking, Ed Milet Sr., Big Eddie, under his wing and helping him to become sober, the ripple effect of that it's unmeasurable, because Ed Milet now has a podcast with well over 1 million subscribers, and between his Spotify and his Apple and his YouTube channel and all of his public speaking, Ed Milet has impacted millions and millions and millions of lives. So while that kind soul only cared about helping the person that was in front of him that night, that person affected millions of people. Because the fact of the matter is, if Ed Milet's dad doesn't get sober, we very well probably never hear the word Ed Milet. None of us have ever heard of the Milets if his dad doesn't get sober. So that's the other thing, guys. You don't have to have a YouTube platform. You don't have to reach thousands of people in order to have massive impact on this world and to help people. And whether you just want to help because you love people and you want to volunteer and serve in an area where maybe you've struggled in the past, or if you want to create it into a business, that's okay too. There's a lot of people out there that are looking to do better financially, that are looking to do better health-wise. Maybe you are like me, where you've been 50, 60, 100 pounds overweight in your life, and now you're healthy. Maybe you've lost that weight and you've kept it off for a handful of years. You could help other people do that because you've done it. Like, who wants to go to somebody that's telling you how to be healthy that's overweight and out of shape and can't even barely walk up a flight of stairs without going, getting out of breath. So, I'm here to tell you, like, you've heard some of my crazy stories, like, at the grocery store with $500 worth of groceries and my card is declined. And I end up not being able to buy the groceries. And my beautiful bride is there with me. The woman that I have talked into marrying me because I'm going to give her a life like no other man. And she's like, yeah, that's for sure. Probably no other man would have taken me to the grocery store, got me all the way up to the front counter, got it all, we had it out of our cart. We had it all scanned. We're all the way ready to go. And I go to pay and I can't pay and I've got no money anywhere. And we literally had to walk out of the grocery store with our tails tucked in between our legs and no groceries. It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. But guess what? I'm using that to help other people, because maybe you're sitting here today. Maybe you're going through something similar right now. Maybe you're the one that is sitting there with no money for groceries and a family to feed, and you don't know what to do. You're desperate. You feel helpless. You don't think it's ever going to change. And I can give you a little hope, because I can tell you that we went from that to a massive change in our life where we do have money for food, where things have totally changed. And I'm here to tell you that your life can change too, whether it's financially, whether it's health, whether it's relationships. I was just at an event out in Las Vegas called Kingdom Builders. And, I'm not going to go into any specifics, but I prayed for several people there this last weekend. And it was amazing, not amazing, because my wife and I, as much as we love each other, we still have struggles and things that we're working through in our own marriage. I don't think there's any such thing as a perfect marriage. But, I was praying and I got to pray for several people that were having, relationship troubles. So you might be sitting there right now on the verge of a divorce, and you feel like that disqualifies you from being able to help other people or do other things. You're ashamed. You don't want to tell people, how tough it is in your marriage. Well, I'm here to tell you, when you tell other people how tough it is in your marriage, you give them hope, because they realize that they're not alone. So I love my wife to death, and we are working hard, but I'm here to tell you that we have challenges. There's things that we are working on a daily basis that, that take work. Relationships are work. You're never going to get to the point in your marriage where you can just set it on autopilot and forget it. It's always going to take some work. But I'm telling you, if you guys you've seen Deana pop on here, the support that she gives me, the love that we've had, you see her actually come onto the channel. We love each other and we aren't going anywhere, but that doesn't mean that we don't have some bad days. That doesn't mean that there's not times where we're kind of at each other's throats. That doesn't mean that there's not some times where maybe we're giving each other the cold shoulder and we really don't want to be around each other for a few hours because we just need to get away. So whatever it is in your life that you've gone through, if you've gone through a divorce and now you're healed from that and maybe you're remarried, maybe you might be able to help other people that are going through a divorce. Or maybe you were this close to getting a divorce, but you ended up, with God in your life. Maybe your marriage got saved and maybe you can help some other people. So I had a couple of people this weekend that it sounded like their marriage was basically over. And I don't know what's going to come of it, but I prayed for a restoration. I prayed for healing, because I know that God hates divorce. There's only a couple reasons in the Bible where you are biblically able to divorce your spouse. And it's not because, they ain't clean enough. They're too much of a slob, or they're lazy, or so many different things that people will, say, well, we just don't love each other anymore. That's not biblical. And I'm not here to get all preachy on you, but I'm just telling you, I believe that God can save your marriage. So if you're sitting here and you don't know what to do, you're in despair, your marriage feels like it's on life support, it's on its last legs, you don't think there's any way to salvage it, I'm telling you, invite God into the middle of it. That's no guarantee by any means, because your partner, the other person in the relationship, has to be willing to come on board with the idea. But I tell you what, if two people on the verge of divorce both of them get God gets a hold of them, miraculous transformation can come. I can promise you, as much as my wife and I love each other, if we weren't Christians and we didn't love God and we hadn't invited God into the middle of our marriage, we probably at some point in time would have made a horrible decision, to part and go separate ways. And that would have affected our kids. We've got a beautiful granddaughter now that's 8 months old. The ripple effect of her and I not sticking together wouldn't have been good. And I'm so glad that God is a part of our lives and has helped us to get through the tough times with him. And so once again, folks, it could be anything that you've gone through in life. Maybe you had a tough time as a student. Maybe you were a horrible student and you were always getting C's and D's. And then something switched in your life a little bit and you started figuring out some strategies and you became an A or a B student and you knocked it out of the park, got that college degree. My point is, folks, whatever it is that you've gone through in your life, like maybe that was you and you're embarrassed. You tell everybody about the A's and the B's, but you don't ever let anybody in on the little secret that you were a C and D student. I'm telling you, anytime you've gone through something in life and you think you're the only one, you aren't. We are humans, and you would be amazed as you start to talk to people and they start to open up and they start sharing their struggles and their challenges and some of the things that are going on in their life, how alike we are. Even though we are all beautiful and individually different, the experiences that we have in our lives so often intersect much more than we believe they do. So that might seem like a weird example, but you could probably help some people that were bad students, that were struggling, that were on the verge or are on the verge of failing out of high school or failing out of college. And your story, you might be able to help them step by step the way that you did it in order to become, A and B students. And the person that maybe gets their law degree because of you could be the person that's defending you in court someday if something goes wrong. You just never know where it's going to go, how it's going to end up. But once again, I want you to remember today, say that over and over and over and over to yourself. God doesn't call the qualified. God will qualify the called. So if you're feeling called to do something, to help people, to live a bigger life than you're living, maybe so many people, it's one of the reasons I don't like the 9 to 5. It's not necessarily, guys, that I don't like, that I think that there's anything wrong with working for somebody else. Man, working for somebody else and just kind of, doing the same job. I know some people that love their jobs, even, I don't want to go back to Ed Milet all the time, but Ed Milet, his sister, is a teacher and she teaches young kids and she absolutely loves it. And she's making a massive, massive, massive impact on their lives. So I'm not against per se just having a job. I'm not saying that every single one of you needs to go out and become an entrepreneur and strive to make millions of dollars and change millions of lives. You might change one life or 5 life or 10 lives, but those people's lives that you change and the ripple effect, if you change one person's life, but it turns out to be an Ed Milet, it turns out to maybe be a Brad Varnell, it turns out to be, a crypto lifer, Sam Price, the person whose life you change and impacted might go on to impact thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds and thousands and millions of other people. But the thing that I don't like about a job is that most people will hide within that job. They've got bigger dreams. There's very few people that I know whose end result in life was to work for somebody else until they were 60 or 70 years old. I've never met an 18-year-old in my whole life, and I asked him, hey, what is your dream? What do you want to do with your life? I've never heard any of them, never once say, well, I want to get a good job and I want to work for the next 50 years so that I can retire. No, we all take off into life and we've got big dreams and big plans and big goals and things that we want to accomplish. We want to have an above average life. We want to have a nice house. We want to have nice cars. We want to have freedom to actually go take incredible vacations. And, like I've told it many times, I had a really good childhood in a lot of ways. I had everything that I needed, but we definitely weren't wealthy. We were middle class. And because my dad was a business owner, sometimes it was really, really good. And sometimes it was tougher. But we didn't do any amazing vacations. We didn't go, from Washington State across the country to Disney World when I was a kid. We didn't go from Washington State to Hawaii. We didn't go from Washington State to the Bahamas. I didn't do any of that stuff as a kid. My vacations were packing up the truck and going camping for the weekend. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of incredible memories. I enjoyed the camping, but I much more enjoy going to Exuma, Bahamas. When my son was 15 for his birthday, we took him and our daughter and his girlfriend and our parents came and we went to Orlando, Florida. This was 4 years ago, right during the peak of the last bull market. We went to Orlando, Florida. We stayed in a 3-story condominium, huge resort, beautiful swimming pools, and just and then we went to Universal Studios and we went to Disney World and we went to Gatorland. Those are things that I didn't get to experience as a kid. And now I'm really enjoying experiencing them as an adult. But, most people, even if they do take vacations like that, they're going into debt. They're racking up credit cards, they're charging things up, they're spending money that they can't afford to spend to take that trip, and then they come back and they're underwater, they're struggling, they're wondering how they're going to pay their bills. Same thing with Christmases. I know so many people that have amazing Christmases. You look at their living room, you see the pictures on Facebook or Instagram, and there's the whole living room is covered with packages, but what they don't tell you is that every one of those gifts was bought with a credit card and that they're going to be paying for that Christmas for years to come. In fact, they're hoping they're still going to be paying for that Christmas when next Christmas comes, and then they got to figure out how to do it all over again. So I'm not against a job. Somebody that's got a job where they're passionate. I know that Ed Milet, one of his first jobs was he worked at McKinley Home for Kids, and he worked with orphaned kids, and he loved it. It was one of the most gratifying experiences of his life. So I'm not here. If you've got something in your life that you really love doing and you wake up in the morning excited to go do it, God bless you. More power to you. But if I'm talking to you and you know that you've been hiding from your dreams, you've been living a small life because you don't think you're qualified to go out and live the big life, the big dream, I want to give you hope, and I want to let you know that God made you to do something powerful and massive in this world. and that God will qualify you if you start taking steps in the right direction towards the big you. God will put things and people and resources into your life that you don't know, you won't know where they came from. I want to give you guys a little bit of a God story. I've got a friend. I'm not gonna name him, but I've got a friend that's been going through some incredible financial challenges over the last couple of years. Unfortunately, him and the gal that he were with went from being, engaged and looking like they were going to get married to they just decided to part ways. And he's got family, that's having some health issues. He's really going through, a tough time in life. And I know that there's some of you on here that might be going, man, I understand. I feel his pain. I know exactly what you're talking about, Brad. But I'm here to tell you that God can work miracles. So he was really, really, really broke. Broke. And not knowing where any money was going to come from. And long story short, all of a sudden he gets a phone call and a guy calls him up about some work that he did a couple of years ago. So a couple of years ago, he was helping businesses get money back from these United States grants it was something to do with COVID. But back during COVID, if you owned a business and stuff, there was tax credits, there was things that you could do where the government was giving business owners money, and he helped several businesses get money, and he'd never made a dime. He never got paid the way that he was supposed to. And long story short, he'd written it off and basically had forgotten about it, thought it was just another thing in his life that didn't work out the way that he thought it was gonna. And out of the blue, when he literally doesn't have two nickels to rub together, he's not sure how he's going to eat, he's totally stressed out of the blue, he gets a phone call from one of the people that he worked with, and he finds out that he's got a $15,000 check coming his way. Now, unfortunately, the person that was supposed to pay him 15 grand only paid him 9 grand. So that's still, though, when you're sitting there broke and don't have any idea what you're going to do in life, all of a sudden this money from 2, 3, 4 years ago, finally appears. But the part of the story that I think is the God part of the story, where you just never know how God is going to provide for you, is one of the people that he helped was a friend of his. He called up this gentleman and explained this tax credit, and the guy's like, I don't think I'm going to get anything back, blah, blah, blah. But he talked the guy into trying. And long story short, this gentleman got several $100,000 back from the government because of this program. And so it all obviously took a long time for the money to get sent to the business owner. And then Kevin gets this phone call. But the God story is that on top of that $9,000, the gentleman that he helped just said, hey, God put it on my heart to give you a little something for helping me. I know that you got paid whatever you got paid for doing what you were doing. But if I remember the story, he was just telling me this, and we're talking about current affairs. Like a week ago, this gentleman was telling me this story. He got a check that he wasn't expecting for $23,000 from this guy that he had helped get back multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. This gentleman sent him $23,000. So he went from being in despair and not knowing how in the world he was going to do anything that he needed to do in life to all of a sudden God blessed him with $32,000. $32,000 that he wasn't expecting. And I'm here to tell you that we still serve a God of miracles. If you're going through something in life that you believe is impossible, that there's no way out, I'm telling you, with God, there is always a way. God can work miracles. He still is working miracles. So I invite you today to go to God and lay your troubles, lay your worries, lay your cares, lay the things of this world that are weighing you down that you don't think you can bear the burden of any longer, lay them on God. God can handle it. God can take care of it, but you have to go to him. God is a gentleman. God needs an invitation to be a part of your life. He's not going to just step in if you don't ask him to. God gives us free will. He gives us free will for a reason. He wants us to choose him, not to feel like we're obligated or like he's a dictator and we have to love him. I found that I can't help but love God just because of all of the amazing things that he has done in my life, including this family of mine. I was wandering through Las Vegas aimlessly, playing a bunch of poker. And I mean, I love poker and I still play a little poker, but I was, I had this dream of being a professional poker player, but it was mostly because I didn't have a wife. I didn't have any kids. I was, living life aimlessly. Really, I was going through a pretty tough time. I wasn't happy in some ways. I felt like I was meant for more. I felt like I was meant to have an incredible woman in my life, and I wanted to have children. But I was getting older. I was 38, getting ready to turn 39 years old, and then all of a sudden, it all changed in an instant. All of a sudden, I met my wife, and we started talking, and that happened back in 2013. And here we are in 2025. But from the day that her and I talked for the very first time to today, we've been pretty much a part of each other's lives the whole time. It changed in an instant. It wasn't like I met her and then 3 months later we exchanged phone numbers and I started talking to her. And then another 3 months later, we went out on our first date and blah, blah, blah. Like, it took us a little while to meet in person, but from the very first time that I messaged her, we talked on pretty much a daily basis. And then my work schedule, her work schedule, she had, a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. It took a little bit of time before we actually got things situated and met in person. I think we talked for about a month before we met in person. But then, we went out on a Friday night for karaoke at our church. And then, on Saturday, it took some talking to get her to go out with me again. She was really scared because she'd never met a guy like me before, that treated her, so well, and that opened the door for her, and that opened the door for her son and helped buckle him in. And there was a part of her that was scared to continue to date me because she was afraid she was going to get hurt. She could see that I was somebody that she could fall in love with. And so I had to talk for, I don't know how long on Saturday, but I had to talk and sell myself and be like, hey, we got to go out on another date. And finally she relented and we went out on a date on Sunday. We went to Outback Steakhouse. I'll never forget. I don't remember exactly what we ordered, but we went to Outback Steakhouse and we went to a movie and we had a good time. And then Monday we went out again, but this time she brought her kids and the four of us went to, I think it was TGI Fridays. We went to TGI Fridays, and her and Joshua and Haley, we all went out to eat. And then after that, we went down to the Strip and we parked at the Bellagio and we went down and we watched the Bellagio fountains. And from that moment forward, that Friday, Sunday, Monday, we spent those 3 out of 4 days together, and we've basically been together ever since. So my point is, guys and gals, your life can change in an instant. You can get a phone call and have $32,000 hitting your checking account just miraculously. You can meet the woman or man of your dreams and literally be in love next week. You can make a decision to get in shape and get healthy and mean it this time and do the things that you need to do. And in a few short months, totally transform your health. There's nothing in this world that you can't turn around. So anything in your world that's going in the wrong direction right now, it's okay. We all have those moments in our lives, but what I'm trying to tell you, and hopefully you guys are hearing me, is that whatever you're going through right now, it's not permanent. So, once again, I don't want to get too sad, but we have some family members that we love to death. We just saw them out in Sun Lakes at a family reunion, and we got home, and a few days later, one of their family members, they weren't at Sun Lakes, but one of their family members decided that they didn't want to be a part of this world anymore. And I'll never forget the gal that I was talking to that was telling me what had happened. This is the term that she used. Her exact words, I hope I get this right, her exact words were, he took a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And I guess that's part of the reason that I'm here with you guys today. If there's any of you that are even remotely considering the fact that this world might be better off without you, you're wrong. This world needs you. And please, if any of you are struggling out there and even contemplating hurting yourselves, please do not take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I can tell you guys, I've gone through it all. I've gone through some amazingly turbulent times in my life. And I'm telling you, something that gets me through is for hundreds of millions, if not billions of years, what always comes after winter? Spring. You can bet your life on it. Like right now, I mean, you should never bet your life on anything, but right now, if I said, hey, I bet you that, that winter's not coming next on planet Earth, you tell me I was crazy, right? We're getting done with summer. Winter's coming. Winter's coming. It's going to be here. But guess what, guys? In a few short months, it will be springtime and it will be summer. And I'm telling you, if you're going through a winter in your life health-wise, if you're going through a winter in your life financially, if you're going through a winter health-wise, you're going through a winter spiritual-wise, spring always follows winter, and then summer always follows spring. Your summer is coming. There's some of us that have been experiencing a financial winter, since 2022. But summer is coming, man. Summer is probably already here for some of you, depending on what you were allocated into and how you invested over the last couple of years. A lot of us are probably experiencing some financial freedom again in our lives, or at least, a little bit of breathing room compared to the last couple of years. But man, the real summer is right around the corner. So don't give up. Don't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And they're all temporary problems, guys. You guys realize what eternity in heaven means? You realize that if you live on this earth for even 100 years, that's like, it's still unfathomable. Like if you think about, if you were to live for 1 second and then you lived in heaven for 500 years, that still doesn't even come close to eternity in heaven with our Creator, with God. So the 50, 60, 80, 100 years that we live on this life, guys, it's nothing. It's like going to the beach and picking up 1 grain of salt. And eternity in heaven is every grain of salt on that beach and all of the rest of the beaches in the world. So guys, we got to quit taking life so seriously. We got to quit taking success and failure and the ups and downs here on this world so seriously, because we're going to be done here on this earth much faster than we think we are. It's going to go quick. For some of you that are listening to this, you're 20, 25 years old, and it feels like you have the rest of your life. I remember being 25 and it feels like it was yesterday. And now all of a sudden I'm 52. 52, guys. And I'm going to be 62, 72, 82 before I know it. Hopefully, God willing, and I'm around this earth. But my point is, guys, we're not going to be here for that long. So quit taking what happens on this earth so seriously. Your wife left you. Your husband left you. They cheated on you with your best friend. They cheated on you with your brother or your sister. Like, so what? Compared to eternity with God, it's such a little, minuscule, tiny, unbelievable thing. You're going through financial situations. You're going into debt. You're having to borrow money. You don't have enough money to buy your family groceries. You feel like a total failure. I'm telling you, compared to eternity in heaven, where everything is taken care of and there are no cares, there are no worries, that is a small, small, small thing. And I'm here to tell you that is a winter that won't stay permanently in place. Nothing here on this earth is permanent. So don't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem. With that, guys, I love you all very much. I hope you got a little bit of value out of today. And I really am looking forward to seeing you the rest of this week. We're going to have a great Trader Tuesday tomorrow. We're going to have an awesome microcap gem, or hopefully the path to 8-figure portfolio by 2030 is going to hopefully be in place for Wednesday's live stream. We got some really cool things going on. The Infinite Agape token is doing incredible. The XPX team came in and really promoted it hard to all of their community, and they won the vote. So that's something else for those of you that are Infinite Agape token holders. I will be sending out $25 in Infinite Agape to everyone today. Vanish, good to see you, my friend. I think I've got a little bit more USDT for you for that contest that you won. So I'll be getting some more funds over to you today, Vanish. And just really excited about what God is doing in my life and where he is taking me, and looking forward to sharing that journey with you guys. And, I haven't even begun to tell you guys some of the crazy stories and what I've gone through in life over the last 4 or 5 years. There's a few things that I'm looking forward to telling you guys about, but I want to get a little bit further along in life. Like if you're an alcoholic, you don't necessarily go tell other alcoholics how to quit drinking when you've been sober for 3 days. So there's some challenges and some things that I've gone through in my life and that I'm still overcoming, that I'm looking, though I see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm looking forward to going back and telling you guys some of the stories, some of the things the challenges that I have faced over the last handful of years. And it may or may not be in time to help you guys through this bull market. But man, I tell you what I have experienced is going to change. I think that going into the 2029, 2030, bear and bull market over the next 4 years, 5 years, some of the challenges, some of the things that I'm going to be able to be equipped to share with you guys and to help you guys overcome is going to just be absolutely amazing. So with that, I don't have time to say hello to every single person in the chat, but I do want to let you know that I see you guys. I appreciate your comments from the very first comment, Sir Crypto the Third this morning, all the way down to Vanish with God bless us all. So I guess one last thing, since I'm right here, I do this Minotaur trading systems. I didn't even mean to leave that up. It's just my son made this branding for me, but you're going to be hearing more and more and more about Minotaur trading systems. So this is a trading bot that I've got connected to some funds on my Blowfin account. And this bot is trading Bitcoin. And so one of the things that I'm going to be doing over the next handful of months is showing you guys the results. And for those of you that have some extra funds that like the idea of buying crypto and holding it yourself, maybe even doing the Trader Tuesdays and doing some trading yourself, but you would also like a set it and forget it, a trading bot that is just trading the markets, whether you're on vacation or whether you're at work or whether, no matter where you're at, you would love a trading bot that's making you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% a month. Guys, 1.5% is what we talk about, but that's 18% a year. That's massive, especially in Bitcoin. And that's on the low side, you know, because they want to under deliver and over promise. So I believe there's going to be multiple months where I can show you way better returns than 1.5%, maybe even 3, 4, 5%. Imagine 5% a month. Excuse me. Especially if you were compounding it. But even if it's not compounded, 5 times 12 is 60% a year. Compound it, it's probably more like 70, 75% a year on your funds that you put into that trading account. So I'm kind of glad that that got put up there. I've got some videos going to be coming out, going to be showing you guys the graph and show you all of the trades that it's making on my account and showing you exactly how this works. But I'm really excited for this new partnership with Minotaur. So with that, guys, God bless you all. I love you all. Thank you for being here. I'm praying for each and every one of you, praying for you to overcome the things and the challenges that you've got going on in your life. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So with that, folks, have an amazing day and take care. Monday is over and out.